What type of pretty are you?
You're beautiful.
Thank you. But what else?
What else?
Is beauty all that matters to you? Some people are simply better than others.
You really think you're that much better than me?
Oh, I think we both know the answer to that.
Do you ever walk on the street and get stopped by a stranger? Hey, what type of pretty are you? Natural pretty, model pretty, popular pretty, or standard pretty? Yes, watch out. Apparently, to be considered pretty now, you have to be either naturally glowy, look like a model, fit into the popular aesthetic, or just be plain vanilla, standard pretty. Like, WTF does that even mean? But girls are dying. Yes, dying to find out which one of the 4 pretties they are, because apparently there are only 4 ways to be pretty. Oh, and another thing. Are you a siren eyes or doe eyes girly? Because as a female human, if your eyes take the shape of anything else other than these 2 very specific shapes, your face is apparently out of trend. How exciting! So many options to choose from. And let's be real, buccal fat is out of season. But comes next season, we might need some filling, so don't get rid of all of them. Yep, welcome to the reality of being a woman in the 2020s, where pretty privilege is not enough and there's a whole hierarchy within. And that your face could be out of trend any given minute. Scared? Don't worry, we're just getting started. What type of pretty are you? Natural pretty, model pretty, popular pretty, standard pretty. Apparently, you're one of these or not very pretty. So, what in the world do they even mean? First off, when I initially came upon this trend, I literally thought it was a joke. It's like sorting through a batch of apples and be like, are you Whole Foods red, Erewhon red, Fuji red, or GMO red? And with further research, I began to understand a little bit more of what each of the pretty actually means, because obviously this is way more important than keeping up with current news, finding a fulfilling career, and learning how to be financially stable in your 20s. A sad reality of our generation, as seen in how this question has over 17.2 million views, and girls hopping on this career trend are looking pretty serious about finding out what type of pretty they are through answers by strangers on the internet. Yep, the most trustworthy source of information in addition to Wikipedia. I hope you knew that was sarcasm. It is honestly reminding me of the internet era where young girls ask the internet on Facebook or something if they are pretty or not. If they get an affirmative answer, they ride that high of validation, and if not, well, it could get pretty ugly, which we'll dive into in a sec. Anywho, let's define the types of pretty, shall we? Natural pretty. This is the patriarchal expectation that women should naturally have soft, glowing skin, defined complexions, rosy cheeks, flowy hair as a product of the male gaze in cinema and a whole production crew of makeup artists and bombshell blowouts. Hence, the no makeup look.
What a baby. I thought I'd found a real man, but he's just like a little girl. No one ever comforted me.
If you're just a regular human like me, you probably don't look like you had that 2-hour natural makeup done first thing you wake up in the morning. So honestly, natural pretty in my eyes is just a new name for the unrealistic expectation for women to look conventionally glam but not too glammed naturally. And before we go through the rest of the pretties, I want to share a pro tip for how you can feel beautiful with or without makeup. Introducing our sponsor today, Scentbird, where you can choose a new designer fragrance to try out every month for just $17. This is a super affordable way to try out fragrances before committing to a full bottle. With each fragrance, you'll get a 30-day supply. Always a fan of floral scents. So I ordered the Chloe Nomad and Marc Jacobs Daisy, very classic floral light fragrances, which are my usual type of fragrances. Oh, this one smells so good too. And they also sent me these other two, which honestly smell so nice as well. It's just so fun to explore and experiment. The subscription is flexible, so you can skip any month without penalties. You can also upgrade to receive 2 or 3 products a month. So make sure to click the link below and use my code ZOE55 for 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's only about $8 your first month. Now back to the types of pretty standards. What in the world is popular pretty?
They made you the head of the show, we get it. But are you really the show?
Well, according to the Urban Dictionary, one definition states that popular pretty is a person. How can pretty be a person? Who is popular because they are pretty and everyone wants to be their friend, not the other way around. And another one states, quote, a description of a female who is only viewed as attractive because they are charismatic and popular and would be viewed as physically average otherwise. So some contradicting definitions here. From my interpretation, the popular pretty type of girl has a charismatic side to her that adds on to her attractiveness. This might be in relation to her social status, makeup, clothes, and fashion. Some people on TikTok are saying how being called popular pretty is not even a compliment, because essentially a lot of the bonus pretty points came from the girl's charisma.
Am I the prettiest girl in the world? No. But do I have a great personality? Also no. But do I wake up every morning and try to be the best person I can be? Absolutely not.
But in my view, it just adds way more dimension to the whole subjective sphere of being pretty. Where yes, someone's personality, sense of style, and demeanors definitely impacts how quote-unquote pretty they are, rather than just having a quote-unquote naturally beautiful face. That could be gorgeous in one person's eyes and hella ugly in another's, no matter who it is. Which is honestly why beauty just takes the right eyes to appreciate. And yes, you are born beautiful. Keep on watching if you're not fully convinced, and subscribe if you are a confident queen who already knew that. Shifting gears to model pretty. Very in line with the current obsession over faces like Bella Hadid, her current face, very runway chic, high cheekbones, hollow face, high eyebrows, and of course, buccal fat-free face, heroin chic is making its comeback.
No, don't do this to me.
And the whole thin is in hype is back in action, because beauty ideals are nothing but trends. They come and go. It has been shifting back and forth between slim and thick, just with more and more absurd extremes and unrealistic standards such as slim thick. Heroin chic is a style popularized in early 1990s fashion and characterized by pale skin, dark circles underneath the eyes, emaciated features, androgyny, and stringy hair, all traits associated with abuse of heroin and other drugs. Representation of this look include Kate Moss and Gia Karanji. It was partly a reaction against the healthy and vibrant look of leading 1980s models such as Cindy Crawford, Elle Macpherson, and Claudia Schiffer, and the fashion industry at the time had a nihilistic vision of beauty that was reflective of drug addiction. Doesn't sound too healthy and isn't very healthy. Yes, I love fashion and the creativity it entails and explores, but because fashion is art, it is a reflection of life, but sometimes, or a lot of times, an overstatement or exaggeration. What the runway aesthetic portrays is an artistic expression to be appreciated, but in my view, just not the Holy Bible to be worshipped. This is why, to me, I understand and respect why Bella Hadid went through her series of glow-ups, aka major face changes, to better suit her career as a model. But I also feel sad for her because girl was gorgeous to begin with. And unlike Gigi, who embraced her round face, cherubic features, Bella became the definition of model pretty. And now let's talk about the most confusing type of pretty. Standard pretty. The name is pretty iconic if you ask me, because apparently being pretty now is the standard. And not gonna lie, if someone called me standard pretty, I would feel pretty mediocre and a little bit offended. Before I rip this one apart as I dive into my thoughts, let's see how the internet defines standard pretty. Basically, just how you meet the standards of being pretty. Thanks. Very helpful. I just want to say that by the time we got to this last set of the 4 pretties, I hope you're starting to see how absurd this whole trend is.
There are 4 types of beauty, and every single woman will fall into one of these categories. And these are the categories. You have classic, hot, sexy, and cute.
I hate to break it to you, but no matter how pretty you think you are or everyone tells you that you are, you could always be quote unquote ugly to someone else. Why? Not because they're jealous of your beauty, not because they're trying to be a snarky little bit, not because they did not have their morning coffee, but because beauty is, surprise, surprise, very subjective. But the opposite is also true. No matter how ugly you think you are, beauty is truly in the eyes of the beholder, and you can really change that perception of yourself. The easiest way to see this is through a shift in cultural lens. As we all know, the standards of beauty between cultures have a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences.
Would you be considered pretty in El Salvador? The beauty standard is to have long, straight, dark hair, large brown eyes, a curvy figure, and thick, well-defined eyebrows.
For example, because I grew up in China, I always wanted very petite lips, or what we say, 樱桃小嘴. It is symbolic of an elegant beauty within the culture. But when I later lived in Canada and the US, and when everyone was getting the Kylie Jenner lips, Botox on Botox, and applying 30 layers of volume-enhancing lip glosses, it's funny because at first I was like, gosh, that is so goddamn ugly. It's literally a clown. But as I grew accustomed to it, you know what? I find thick lips attractive too. Just not the type where Botox destroys your lip liner. That is a little too much for my taste. But hey, that could literally be the ideal beauty for someone else. Hence, there really is not a clear definition of beauty. And thanks to consumerism culture, it is also always changing. And this is why I think TikTok is so dangerous.
What is the most attractive feature a female can have?
Thighs.
Her eyes.
Feet. Ass.
TikTok is quite toxic. So even though some of us might find the what type of pretty are you trend on TikTok a little absurd and take it as a lighthearted joke or just another random thing on the internet, the way how so many girls are actually asking the online community what type of pretty they are, to the extent that this became an actual trend, is concerning. Whoever made up the 4 types of pretty, do you suppose they spent years and years of hard work and labor in researching human cognition, the philosophy and aesthetics, the dynamics of social culture, and the history of beauty standards? I'd honestly be surprised if they spent more than 4 seconds to come up with something so arbitrary. Like, obviously, there are only 4 types of pretty in the whole wide world, and if you are not any of the above, you are not pretty. And because the internet needs more ways for girls to categorize themselves, it blew up as a trend. I just want to say, if I really sit down and think about it, I can probably come up with 100 other types of pretty. Like grunge pretty, eccentric pretty, subtle pretty, plastic pretty. And honestly, I find it really messed up how anyone can just go on TikTok and arbitrarily make up these rules for girls to start categorizing themselves. Make it a trend, and then it becomes a golden rule that everyone follows. And the internet is full of examples like fox versus baby pretty.
Fox?
versus baby.
Like with this one, yeah, I feel like I fit more into baby than fox. But then at the same time, I still...
Like, I could literally make up what type of hot girl are you? Girly hot, spicy hot, expensive hot, or popular hot. And if you don't fit into any of these random, arbitrary categories I created, you're not hot. See my point here? The danger lies in how powerful the algorithm is in pushing a random standard to become the rule that dictates how many young girls view themselves. Like if you use the inverted filter and your face is not 100% symmetric, you're ugly.
You're fucking Nate? Are you kidding me? No, I don't even know why she would say that.
Winners get bragging rights, whereas others who failed this dumb standard feel disappointed to the point that they cried. Or standards like, if your finger touches your lips, you are attractive. You're attractive if your collarbone can hold 10 coins. It's just so alarming to me how our generation and the next generation are allowing trends we see on TikTok dictate our worth. Allowing the algorithm to tell us if we are pretty or not, and giving up our power to decide on who we should be, what we should look like. For example, wearing too much makeup is not cool because clean girl aesthetic is in, and the only two attractive eye looks right now are the siren eyes or dull eyes. I think it's cool to explore ways to apply makeup, recognize something as beautiful, and just let it be fun and creative. But there is an immense amount of pressure where if you're not within the trend, you begin to feel different, like an outlier.
If you're semi-pretty, I don't think you should care too much about how you look.
And that makes you feel ugly. Pretty privilege is also a double-edged sword. The what type of pretty are you trend is honestly just a flex of pretty privilege in disguise. It's kind of an outcry seeking validation of, please tell me I am pretty, and in what ways? Just give me all the compliments. But again, this is very dangerous in itself because if all the validations come from the external feedback from strangers on TikTok, when you get all the validations, great. But when you don't, or worse yet, comments on the internet can get pretty nasty. Does your self-worth then crumble? So no matter what type of pretty you think you are, just remember that pretty privilege is a double-edged sword. Because granted, we live in a very fast-paced and sometimes cruel society. The standard definition of pretty changes by the minute. But I hope you know that you have the power to perceive yourself on your own terms.